This is a continuation lesson from one-step algebra, and now we're going to start looking at two-step algebra. And the reason we call it two-step algebra is because there's two processes that you have to do in order to get to the answer. And if you take a look at what this question is asking you, it's telling you that two groups of a number plus 3 is going to equal 17. So essentially what that means is that if I draw this out, I've got two groups of n, and there's n in both because n is equal in each group. And then I've got three little stragglers kind of floating around here, and I'm adding those together, and the whole thing is going to equal 17. Now what we need to do in two-step algebra is the same principle and the same concept as what we did in one step, where we have to get n by itself. We want to isolate n, and in order for us to do that, we have to start zeroing out or canceling numbers. So in two-step algebra, we're always going to want to work away from the variable first, so whatever's furthest away. So as you can see here, these two guys, they're kind of hugging the 2n. It means we've got two groups of them, so we're going to leave that and save that till last. We got to get rid of these little stragglers first, which is the plus 3. So like in one-step algebra, if we take 2n and we add 3, in order for us to cancel that 3 or to zero that 3 out, we have to subtract 3. And on the other side of the equal sign, we've got to do that as well to keep it in balance. So we're going to take the plus 3 and the minus 3, and we're going to move the minus 3 over to the 17 on the other side, and it's going to give us a number. So these 3's cancel each other out, and we're left with two groups of n equal 17 minus 3, and 17 minus 3 is 14. Now what we need to do is we need to do just one-step algebra. And doing the one-step algebra, we're going to look and see what this operation is. 2n means that we're taking two groups and multiplying them to get the number of 14. We just don't know how many are in that group. So when we multiply, in order for us to find out how many there are in a single group, we have to take and divide by the total number of groups. 2 divided by 2 leaves us with a single n, which is what we were looking for. But what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So we're going to divide 2 on the other side. That gives us 14 divided by 2, and we know that n now equals 7. So if I take this n and plug it in, I've got 2 times 7, which is 14, plus 3 gives me 17. So I've checked the answer as well, and I know that I'm right. Let's take a look at it again with a different one. Let's take 3n and we're going to subtract 4, and I'm going to grab a random number. Let's try 5. 3n minus 4 equals 5. So what this is telling us is that we still have three groups of a number, and we're going to be taking away 4 from it to equal 5. So we can still use that drawing of chips and whatnot. So here's my three groups of n, n, and n. And then over here I've got 4 negative 1s, so negative 1, negative 1, negative 1, negative 1. And they're all together. If we add all those together, we get minus 4. Negative 1 4 times is negative 4. I've got to cancel those out. So think of it like money. If you're in the hole in your bank account by $4, you need to be able to get back to 0, because we always want to zero it out. So if I have $4 in the hole, well then in order for me to get back to 0, I need to add $4 to my bank account, and that will help me get the $4 back. And that cancels, and that cancels. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So now I have 3n equals 5 plus 4. 3n equals 9, because 5 plus 4 is equal to 9. Now I just have those three groups of n that I have to figure out what is in each of those groups. And like I mentioned in the last slide, if you take a certain amount of groups and divide it by the number of groups, you're always going to get n by itself. You'll isolate n. You'll find out what 1n is equal to. So in this case, if there are 3 n's, I'm going to divide it by the amount of groups, which is 3. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. That cancels out the 3n and the dividing 3, and that leaves me with n equals 9 over 3. And 9 divided by 3 is simply 3. Now I can take that and plug that in to the n up here. 3 times 3 is 9. Subtract 4, and that equaled 5, which was the answer that I originally started with. This is two-step algebra. Take a look at the video if you need to, and if you have any questions, drop me a line.